foremost.
Good evening. I'm Anne Marie Flynn, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, and I'm the moderator for this event. We want to welcome all of you and thank you for coming this evening. We also want to thank the City of Lanesboro for allowing us to hold this educational event in Lanesboro City Council. Darla Taylor and Michelle Peterson were especially helpful. We also want to thank the League of Women Voters Minnesota for all of their guidance and technical assistance in putting together this forum. We will start the candidate forum in a couple of minutes, but before we do, we have a few requests and announcements to make. Please remain as quiet as possible while candidates are speaking so that everyone can hear and the candidates have maximum time for questions. Questions that are unclear, hostile, or of a personal nature will not be asked. No put downs of any candidate or League of Women Voter members will be tolerated. It's the League's policy to take the entire forum without editing so that the citizens will see the event in its entirety, not just selected scenes or sound bites. The forum is being recorded by Michael Seiler and will be available for viewing League of Women Voters Facebook page on YouTube and will be on Lanesboro City's website. For the people that don't have Facebook or access to internet, we will have several additional showings of this forum. We haven't decided on the time or the place or location, but we will keep you informed by email or the city's website.
Hello, my name is Loney. I serve as voter service chair, and I'm here to introduce the several candidates for city council and allow them 3 to 4 minutes to say their remarks. In addition, I will stand in for Chase Bakke to present his remarks. Our first speaker will be Mindy Albrecht-Benson. Our second, I'll stand in for Chase Bakke, and then Susan Ritter will be our third city councilor candidate. With that, I invite Mindy Albrecht-Benson to speak her piece. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thanks for being here. I'm Mindy Albrecht-Benson. I was selected 2 years ago to fill a vacated seat on the City Council, and I'm hoping to be elected to continue in that role. I chose to run for office very simply because I want to be part of the solution to some of the issues I've seen. And I believe that my background, experience, and skill set add value towards that end. I see 4 top priority issues. The first is communication. I think the city has made some real progress in the area of communication by utilizing the city email and Facebook page, and also by continuing to provide the opportunity for citizens to join meetings using Zoom. There's a balance between the city pushing information out and the citizens and other interested parties pulling information in. I want to make sure that the city continues to push out information to the point that citizens feel that they are being properly and adequately informed. The second issue I see is representation of all stakeholders. There are people who live here full-time, people who live here seasonally, people who've lived here their whole lives or have relocated here, people who own businesses here, along with people who visit and live in the surrounding area outside the city limits. All these people have some level of interest in the decisions and operations of the city. Of course, each council member naturally has a particular point of view, and I'm interested in us continuing to build the muscle of looking at things from all points of view, especially those that we might not consider naturally. Third issue I see is transparency around critical decisions. As I mentioned, I think the city is doing a better job of communicating decisions that are made by the council. Where I think there's still room for improvement is in the area around why. Why were particular decisions made? What other options were considered, and why weren't they chosen? Do we have evidence that the city considered all points of view on a particular issue? And the fourth issue I see is long-term planning and prioritization. I personally feel the city's been reactive versus proactive on several issues in the past. And I will continue to be an advocate for having top issues and projects clearly spelled out, planned for, and prioritized against each other, so that when something new comes in, there's a context in which to evaluate it. I think the city's making progress in this area, and there's more work to do. Some qualifications that I'd like to highlight are my prior experience on the City Council, experience serving on the board of a townhome association, my professional background in project management, and my natural ability to be analytical, and I'm not afraid to ask questions. A little bit about me personally: I live in Lanesboro with my husband, Dean. I'm employed as a data analyst in the healthcare industry. I'm an engaged community member. Besides being on City Council, I've also served on the Lanesboro 150th Committee, the Buffalo Bill Days Committee, the Heritage Preservation Commission, and I also serve as a high school volleyball official. I have a little bit of a unique point of view in that I am a native of Lanesboro, and I also lived in the Twin Cities Metro for over 20 years before choosing to relocate here 4 years ago. Again, I would like to thank everyone in attendance for taking time to listen in, for being engaged in what's going on with local government. If I'm elected, my intention is to be an approachable, engaged council member who listens and actively works to ensure that your point of view is fairly represented in discussions and decision making, and that you feel assured that the City of Lanesboro has your best interest in mind. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Anne Flynn. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, and I'm reading this on behalf of Chase Bakke. Hello, my name is Chase Bakke, and I'm running for City Council. I would first like to thank the League of Women Voters of Fillmore County for giving me the opportunity to share this and the voters of Lanesboro. I do apologize for not being able to attend, but my wife and I had a previous commitment. A little background about myself. I have been part of the Lanesboro community for the majority of my life. I grew up on a family farm outside of Lanesboro, and I graduated from Lanesboro High School. I assisted my parents in opening Granny's Liquor and was their manager for 5 years. I'm a volunteer firefighter for Lanesboro Fire Department, and I was on the Buffalo Bill Days Committee for 8 years. In 2017, I was selected to represent Lanesboro at the Blandon Leadership Foundation program. For the past 4 years, I've proudly served Lanesboro as a city council member. I'm running for office because I care about the future of Lanesboro. Lanesboro is currently a thriving small community that is very diverse in what we identify as. We have a great school, the Root River, the bike trail, a tourism industry that is regionally known, a wonderful arts community, and we have the egg community that has helped build Lanesboro. I would like to help continue the growth and prosperity of all of those, because that's what makes Lanesboro such a unique and wonderful place to live. By being a council member, it gives me an opportunity to give back to my community that I am proud to say I'm from. As my first term as council member is coming to an end, I'm proud to look back at what has been accomplished. Being a part of the construction of a new dam and the new wastewater treatment facility, navigating the fluidity of COVID-19 and doing what we thought was best for the community. We are currently working with the construction of the street project in the downtown area. We are also working with developers for adding future homes in an apartment complex. All of this has helped better the community of Lanesboro. I would like to keep that momentum going into my next term. I would keep focusing on the sustainability of Lanesboro and our infrastructure. I would like to thank the community of Lanesboro for giving me the opportunity to represent them in the past 4 years. I hope the community of Lanesboro chooses to give me an opportunity to continue representing them for another 4 years as City Council member. Thank you.
Our third participant in this forum, presenting the words of City Council candidates, is Susan Ritter.
Hello, I'm Susan Ritter. I'm a resident of Lanesboro, and I have been for the last 4.5 years. I'm a transplant from the Twin Cities, and I first like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting me to come and speak at this forum. My background is that I have my law degree and I have been working in the legal field for 30 years. Now I am retired and we moved to Lanesboro in order to have my husband enjoy the art scene down here and fulfill his desire to be an artist. I have been involved with several nonprofits. I've served on the board of directors of the Embroiderers Guild of America. I know parliamentary procedure and Robert's rules and very familiar with how to work in those. I have also already been civically involved. I was a citizen member of the county commission for the jail needs assessment and helped prepare the report and the presentations that Sheriff DeGeorge presented to the city council. I'm currently on the board for the Lanesboro Museum, the Lanesboro Historic Preservation Association, and am involved in helping there and being the treasurer. I'm hoping by being a member of the city council, I can help follow the parliamentary procedure that ensures that decisions are made openly and correctly. And that allows the citizens of Lanesboro information on the decisions that are being made. I hope with my candidacy to increase the transparency of what the city council is doing and increase communications with the citizens. I would like to see city council's agendas to be more detailed and contain more information about what is being decided, and that the agenda packets should be available to all citizens prior to the meeting so that the citizens can give meaningful input, because the city council itself cannot know all aspects of life in Lanesboro. And we do rely on the citizens of Lanesboro to tell us and give us their opinions about decisions we are making. And I believe it's very important to involve the citizens in the decisions that the city council is making. So.
Beautiful, thank you so much. You'll see, Lanesboro, you will see those three names, Mindy Albrecht-Benson, Chase Bakke, and Susan Ritter on your ballot when you go to vote for city councilors. At this point, we'll move on to inviting, well, saying goodbye to our city councilor candidates. Thank you so much for attending. We'll invite our mayoral candidates up to join us and revise a little bit here. How about James right here.
Yeah.
Mr. Resseman here, right?
James.
Oh, sorry. Well, oh, we kind of get out of order. Oh, you want to go that way? Oh, wait.
I can sit wherever you need.
Okay, all right. There we go. There we go. I guess this is the Chinese fire drill part of things that just happens. So. If you would, Ken, right here.
Oh, sure.
Perfect. We'd like to just let you know that the League of Women Voters is a political organization, but that we're entirely nonpartisan. We're organized at the local, state, and national level to encourage citizens to become educated and participate in government by voting. The league does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. We haven't ever, we don't plan on it, we just don't do that. The League of Women Voters has a goal of providing unbiased candidate and issue information for our voters, regardless of their political beliefs. That's why we're here tonight.
Okay, so this forum is a public service providing you with an opportunity to hear the candidates discuss the important issues face to face. The views expressed here are those of the candidates and not of the League of Women Voters of Fillmore County or the city of Lanesboro. Our policy is to invite all candidates for public office. All the candidates for city council and mayor have been invited this evening. There's never enough time to cover all the issues. If you feel your questions are not addressed, please contact the candidates directly. The candidates for mayor this evening are Jason Resseman, James David Harstad, Ken Soiney, and Pat Shanahan. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for their opening statement, 1 minute to answer each question, and 2 minutes for their closing statement. Please note that our timekeepers, Delia and Betsy Holbrook, who have 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and stop signs. Once a stop sign is displayed, the candidate will stop at the end of the current sentence. This in my classroom. After opening statements, we will proceed to the questions from our question bank and some sent in by emails from the public with 1 minute replies. Candidates may choose to respond to the questions, but you also may pass if you want to. Let's begin with opening statements from Jason Resseman.
Good evening, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for making this opportunity for us to speak our minds and answer questions for the citizens of Lanesboro. I also thank the other candidates for coming. I think it's important to have this dialogue. I've lived in Lanesboro for 16 years. I live with my wife, Elizabeth, and my 9-year-old daughter, Ruby. I currently serve as mayor of Lanesboro. I have been on Lanesboro City Council for 8 years, 4 of which as mayor. I remember prior to the 2014 election, many other people in town may remember this as well, that Lanesboro was maybe lacking a little bit in its vitality. There are a lot of empty businesses downtown, houses in town, to the point where some of the windows downtown were just covered with murals in an attempt to make the town look more vibrant. I feel through the strong leadership that we've had on council since that time frame, the vitality of Lanesboro has turned around. As a catalyst, it was important to me that we used investment in infrastructure to bring people into the community and to invest. And I feel that the citizens of Lanesboro should be proud of this investment and as a catalyst, as we see what's happened in town lately, and we continue this progress. And that is my goal, is to continue as mayor with that progress. So again, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. James?
Hello, everyone. My name is James Harstad, and I'd first and foremost like to thank everyone for attending. I'd like to thank the League of Women's Voters for inviting me in the first place. Thank you. As I said, my name is James Harstad. I was born in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. However, I grew up primarily in a town outside of Mankato known as Delia. It's a farming community. My girlfriend and I recently moved to town about a year ago. I myself work as a contractor, and she works at the Mayo Clinic as a nurse practitioner. Before I landed in Lanesboro, I spent 7 years in the Army National Guard, 4 of which was active duty time, including 2 deployments to the Middle East. So service to my community and my country is nothing new to me. I've since been honorably discharged, and in the future, as your mayor, I plan to delegate authority back to the various boards, as well as to the city council, so that the will of the people is followed in town. If you'd like to see transparency and trustworthiness reestablished in our local government, please consider voting for me for mayor. Again, I'm proud of this community, and I look forward to serving you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ken Soiney?
Yeah, my name is Ken Soiney. I've been on and off a resident of the Lanesboro area for a number of years, for about the last 20. Prior to that, I was in law enforcement, which I retired from. I retired out of Chicago. I ended up quite a few additional schoolings and ended up with a law degree. I don't practice, thank God. But I think I have a lot to bring to the table here in terms of my background in law enforcement. I'm very pro law enforcement, and I think that the city needs to step up in a few ways to increase our funding for our police department, because I saw a lot of things this summer relating to the river that weren't being addressed. One of the things I'm going to push for is to try to attract more small industry and expand our tax base. That's about it.
Okay, thank you. Pat Shanahan?
Hi, I'm Pat Shanahan, and I'm running for mayor because I believe that the citizens need to be informed more. I believe that the transparency of Lanesboro government has really taken a second priority, and I think that public service should be brought more to the forefront of our city government. I can go on and on about examples, but I'll just give a quick example about one that's just brand new put out. They want to make a change to the liquor laws in town, and we get notification. That's good, and we also get like a link to the actual city policy or city rules or law, but there's no context. And what I'm saying is that we need an informed citizenry. We need citizen action groups, that if something's going to happen in the neighborhood, we go and actively activate the people in the neighborhood to come forward and to discuss the things that are going to impact them directly. And I really think that we need to have more input, not less input. First thing I'm going to do if I get in there is I'm going to take care of these draconian rules that Mayor Resseman has put in to the meetings. And I want to encourage the citizens to come to the meeting and speak. If you've got more than 3 minutes of something to say, I want to hear it, because most of the time in a small town like this, people don't have much to say. But when they do have something to say, I want to be able to make sure that they feel comfortable coming to say it. So I want the citizens to know more about what's happening in this town so that we can be informed and be more active. Now, I was a Marine, I was a union president, and I was a state representative. I've run meetings, and I've been elected 6 times to different offices, and I'm here to serve again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now I will go to the first question. So I will start with I'll start with Ken Soiney. He'll be number 1 for the first question. The second question, Jason Resseman, and we'll go like that. So every time, different person will go first. Okay, Ken, some of you have already touched on this. Why do you believe you would be a good mayor?
Well, I think I'm obviously a people person. I've had a business in town here for over 20 years and have probably the best reviews from my customers. So it's pretty obvious I'm a good communicator. And I think that's a very important part of the job.
Okay,
Is communication.
okay, thank you. Jason?
Same question?
Yes, why do you believe you'd be a good mayor? Well, mayor again, how should I put that? Or why do you think you are a good mayor?
So prior to becoming mayor, and part of the time when I was on council, I was a seasonal business owner for 20 years. I had a landscape business in Lanesboro that worked in the southeast Minnesota, western Wisconsin, and northern Iowa. I feel that my understanding of how government is to be run, how the businesses are to, what's important for the vitality of the businesses and the residents of Lanesboro, I feel that I can speak to with my experience, proven experience on council over the last 8 years. I have had the opportunity to volunteer, educate at the school for a number of years, as well as other opportunity to volunteer with other organizations in town. I feel that gives me a good opportunity for community engagement, which I rely heavily on as we make decisions, as we move forward as a community.
Okay, thank you. Pat, why do you believe you'd be a good mayor?
Because I'm a fair leader that wants exposure and transparency for everybody. I want to step into the role and be more of a neighbor than a mayor. And I want the people of Lanesboro to know ahead of time what things are going to happen and that they can come and be an informed person here. The proof is in the pudding. We have a lot of discord going on in town, and I know exactly how to fix it. I was a state rep for the Minnesota Professional Firefighters, and there's over 1,800 members there, so I can definitely handle a meeting in this town, and I know how to make it so that everybody knows what's going on.
Thank you, Pat. James, why do you believe you'd be a good mayor?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to say that I am also fair. I can see things from kind of all sorts of different perspectives. I've moved around a lot. I've seen a lot of different places through my military experience and other such things. And I've come to understand people on a deeper level in some ways. With that as it is, I think that there has been a lot of contention lately in town of Lanesboro that maybe should not be there. And I do plan to fix it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, question number 2. Let's start with Jason. What are your ideas to increase city revenues and or decrease city expenses?
Since 2015, with the investment in infrastructure the citizens of Lanesboro have made, the tax capacity for our city has increased by 62%. That capacity lessens the burden to all the residents and property owners as we deal with future infrastructure improvements. We have the opportunity for housing developments where more residents can come to the community, which would add to commerce, which would bring students, possibly families and more students to the school, would add more ratepayers for our utility services. And maybe with more of a residential aspect and families moving here, there'd be more amenities that would be available to us as residents. So I think continuing on with the course of investment in infrastructure as a catalyst, that we can grow the community and maintain its vitality.
Thank you. Pat? What are your ideas to increase city revenues and or decrease city expenses?
Well, in my history, I was 24 years a Rochester firefighter, retired from there. And one of my main jobs there was keeping the budgets in line. And that, of course, is just, first of all, good oversight. But secondly, austerity. We can cut back in a lot of different areas, and then a leader goes and takes a look at every single one of the departments and asks their department heads where some cuts can be made. Another thing is we need to look at things like parking meters. That's a great revenue source for the town. Maybe they're like kiosks where they can be turned on and off. Also, our campgrounds in town, those need to be looked at. Those are revenue sources where more revenue could be brought in. I'm in the innkeeping business, and I realize that that's a problem in our town. But basically, I would lean on the department heads and insist on austerity while continuing some of the growth that the city has been doing. I give credit where credit's due.
Oh, thank you. James, what are your ideas to increase city revenues and or decrease city expenses?
First and foremost, I think that the city of Lanesboro needs significantly more housing, not only in the Lanesboro area, but also in the entire country for that matter. So the new residential establishment that's being built on the outside of town, I think is a good step in the right direction. I also understand that in current times, I know money is starting to get tight for a lot of people. And so everything will need to be kind of scrutinized with a fine tooth comb. Sorry about that. And we're gonna have to cut some chaff. And that's just the way it is.
Okay, thank you. For the third question, I'll start with Pat.
Ken.
I'm sorry, Ken. We have to make sure to answer that.
No, I was, but
Oh, okay. Okay, Ken, what are your ideas to increase city revenues and or decrease city expenses?
Well, that's a hot button
Oh,
subject. I think first and foremost, we need to attract more families to town, and we need to bring in and make extra efforts through getting more small industry here that provides jobs and also a tax base. Lanesboro is facing some pretty big challenges. When we start losing people, the community dies. We've lost a lot of businesses in the last few years with COVID and everything. I've managed to hold on in my business, but I've had second thoughts all the way, especially this summer with the high gas prices and the economy and whatnot. We've all taken a hit. All of business have, and I think there needs to be greater scrutiny as far as city spending. And that's going to be one of my priorities. And there's a lot of things.
Do you want to finish your sentence or is that it?
I think that's pretty much sums up it. So
Okay, thanks, Ken. Okay, the third question. Yeah. How would you balance the residential, tourist, commercial, and industrial needs of the community?
Well, the best way to do it is with community involvement. First and foremost, we need to start by getting the people to feel as though they're part of the community, part of the system, part of the government system, and break down a bunch of barriers. So I think that when you involve the citizens, you're gonna have a plan that'll come together that will make the most people happy. I think that what you do is you drive forward the meetings and you form groups of people that come together that care. And you don't limit the time amount that they can speak, and you don't put them through a bunch of ringers. You try to let them know ahead of time. You try to have them help you. And I'll tell you what, a small town like this isn't a big city. 700 people can come together pretty easily.
Thank you. James, how would you balance the residential, tourist, commercial, and industrial needs of this community?
Well, I think we all know that Lanesboro is a little bit special in the fact that it's not just another farming community. We have a blossoming tourist community with all kinds of extracurricular activities that suit pretty much anyone, no matter what their hobbies are. And so I think that that needs to be bolstered, and so that it is able to flourish in the way that it should. On the flip side of that, I also understand that this has been a farming community for a very long time, and that our farmers need to be taken care of. I think that variances need to be adhered to when it comes to buildings and cities. And I think that all in all, everybody needs to come together and kind of come to a solution on a lot of these things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ken, how would you balance the residential, tourist, commercial, and industrial needs of this community?
well, tourism obviously has been a great boon to the community, and I've benefited from it, although not very much in the last couple of years because of the weather conditions and whatnot. But as I stated before, I think we need to look at cutting some costs and some frivolous things that I see going on that aren't really benefiting us as citizens or the community in general. And again, pushing forward with trying to attract some quality small businesses. And we need to take better care of our businesses. I think there's been a fundamental lack of understanding how things work. And that's something I'd like to change.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Jason, how would you balance the residential, tourist, commercial, and industrial needs of this community?
I've said in the past, and I'll continue to say it, that Lanesboro is an agricultural community that has embraced tourism as an economic driver. First is for commercial and business support. I believe in direct support to these companies and businesses in town. One way that we've done this already is with the introduction of CETA as a support for our EDA, which has brought in $250,000 over the last 2 years in direct support to our commercial endeavors. I think the second thing for residents is to continue on with the support of our independent school district. I think we take sometimes for granted the importance of the school and the fact that we do have an independent district. And I think that the abilities of the school with bringing more families to the community would tie into more commerce, which would eventually bring more amenities for the residents ourselves, and maybe not so much just for the tourist aspect of our economy.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question. Number 4, let's see, we'll start with James. Okay, what sources of information would you use in order to make decisions?
Well, first and foremost, the voice of the people. I'm an approachable guy. You guys are more than welcome to come and talk to me at any time, any day, anywhere, and I will have a genuine conversation with you. In the day and age of technology and phones and Facebook and everything else that we have, sometimes I find that the message tends to get lost in the discourse. So I'm here to be a face-to-face liaison between you and your government. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ken, what sources of information would you use in order to make decisions?
Well, I'm pretty much a people person, and I love going out and interacting with, members of the community, and I think that's one of my strong points. I would like to see more community participation in making some of the decisions that have been made, either by way of bonding issues and whatnot. I think, like I say, our taxpayers are taking a big hit in a lot of ways, and that's something we need to look very seriously at and try to, eliminate a lot of those burdens.
Okay, thank you. Jason, what sources of information do you use in order to make decisions?
The decision processes can be hard sometimes in a small community with the issues that face us. What's important to me is the input from the community members, business owners, as well as the commission members who volunteer to serve for our community. With the input and the vetting process from the commissions, I feel that the council has a good leg to stand on to make decisions, as well as the resources we have with our city administrator, our city engineer, and our city attorney, and other aspects of our city staff. Rolling that all together to make a pragmatic decision is important as a council member, and even more so important as a mayor as you lead a meeting. I would continue to use these aspects as a tool for the betterment of Lanesboro.
Okay, thank you. Pat, what sources of information would you use in order to make decisions?
Well, I would use the people. I would use the people that live here, the taxpayers. But I'd also like to say that I would use the citizens in a way a bit differently, and I would make some changes and this is very easy for me. The EDA meets at like 2:30 or 3:30 in the afternoon. That's the economic development. Now, nobody that has a job or a business can go and attend the EDA, so they struggle to get people to sit on the boards or whatever. So I'm gonna use a common sense approach with a small town approach to letting people speak their minds easily and to me and to the council. And we're gonna use the department heads as the guiders. But I'm gonna tell you right now, people are not getting heard. And with me, they will. And if I have to change schedules to make it happen, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, thank you. I'm surprised no one said social media. So, number 5, Ken, I'll start with you.
Okay.
Give examples how you have been able to work productively with those who do not share your opinion.
That's a good question. I tend not to take myself too seriously, and I always try to find the humor in everything. And I respect other people's views. It doesn't mean that I agree with them. And I've had some very lively conversations. I think it's well known that I have a very strong conservative slant, and that I would continue with that from a leadership standpoint as mayor, is providing a strong conservative voice, especially in how the decisions are made in town. That's basically it.
Okay, thank you. Jason, give examples how you have been able to work productively with those who do not share your opinion?
With the diversity of the people that are involved with city council now, as well as our commission members, it is important to understand that we have a respectful discourse with each other, because everyone does have different experiences and different opinions and how those experiences base their guidelines. Again, I would just say that over the 8 years, there's been a lot of topics where a lot of different opinions have come forward. An important part of leadership is to recognize those different opinions, to take them into consideration in a respectful manner. Compromise comes out of that. And compromise most of the time is a really good opportunity for the citizens of Lanesboro and our community as a whole. So I would continue to do that.
Okay, thank you. Pat, give examples of how you have been able to work productively with those who do not share your opinion.
Well, it's quite frankly, you just have to sit down, you have to listen to them, you have to take their opinion into account, and then you have to come up with a plan that takes everybody into account. Now, not always are you gonna be right, not always are they gonna be right, but people feel a lot better if they've been heard. And they know that they've been heard, that their opinion has been part of the decision-making process. And that is how I move forward, make those things happen.
Okay, thank you. James, give examples how you have been able to work productively with those who do not share your opinion.
Well, again, through my military experience, I have a little bit of a unique story. I was military intelligence as a profession, and specifically I was an interrogator. So dealing with people who have never had Western values in front of them has been a challenge that I've overcome many, many times. And I find that the people around Lanesboro are a little less difficult to deal with, let's say, than the terrorists that I'm accustomed to. So
That's
I think I could probably do it.
okay, thank you. Okay, so Jason, is that what you were thinking?
Sure.
Okay, question number 6, do you believe it is important for mayors to attend Fillmore County Commissioner meetings? Would you be willing to attend one of these Tuesday morning meetings?
Yes.
To both, yes and yes? Okay. Pat?
I absolutely believe that looking outside Lanesboro is important, but I also believe it's important that the other leaders take that same opinion as the mayor. So
Okay,
I would
But
say
you-
yes, me, and I would encourage the other leaders to go too.
okay. James? Do you believe it's important for mayors to attend Fillmore County Commissioner meetings? Would you be willing to attend one of these Tuesday morning meetings?
I believe it's essential, and I would happily attend.
Okay. Ken? Do you believe is it important for mayors to attend Fillmore County Commissioner meetings? Would you be willing to attend one of these Tuesday morning meetings?
Oh, yes, by all means. I've gone before the commissioners on a number of issues and whatnot. So I think it's an excellent opportunity to get our views out there to the county, because a lot of the decisions that they make affect Lanesboro.
Oh, sure.
So
Okay. We wanted to stick an easy one in there for you guys, so yeah, that was it. So it's like, okay, Pat, you're gonna start with this one.
Sure.
A town is roads, utilities, overall structure, services, employees, and governance. What is working well in Lanesboro and what needs to be improved?
Can you read that one more time?
Sure. A town is roads, utilities, overall structure, services, employees, and governance. What is working well in Lanesboro and what needs to be improved?
Well, one thing that's really worked well in Lanesboro is we were lucky enough to be handed a very historic town, and we looked after it, and we have continued to look after it. I think that is an important thing that we've done right. I also think that we've welcomed people from all over the world, and they've come and had a great time here. I think we've really done that right too. I give credit to our school district. Just seems like they're doing a great job for our kids in this town. I see a lot of infrastructure projects going on now. I'd like to say, credit where credit's due. Those are the kind of things that have been kicked down the road a little bit. And needed to get done, and those kind of things need to continue to happen. The roads, the infrastructure, things like that, improvements need to happen, and those have been happening. And I like to see that, that's a positive. Where I think we've really, are we talking about just what's good or what?
Yeah, what is well and what needs to be improved?
Well, what needs to be improved is.
minutes up.
Sorry, okay, sorry.
We ended on a positive note. That's
Sorry,
good.
that's good.
Yeah, James, a town is roads, utilities, overall structure, services, employees, and governance. What is working well in Lanesboro and what needs to be improved?
I think our employees and our services are second to none. I think our roads need a little bit of work, mine does. And I think our infrastructure is needing to be maintained and improved upon at any chance that we can.
Okay, thank you. Ken, a town is roads, utilities, overall structure, services, employees, and governance. What is working well in Lanesboro and what needs to be improved?
Well, I've said this before, and I've been very vocal about it. We're blessed with an excellent group of city employees that are dedicated. I've seen it time after time after time where they're putting in extra effort. So I don't have any suggestions for improving on issues with the city employees, because my shop is located right across from their shop, and I see how hard they work, and I hear a lot of, you know, pithy complaints from people around town. All the city guys don't do anything. Well, go and spend a day with them. You know, I think you have a whole new perspective on it. As far as the infrastructure goes, I think we're headed in the right direction, but I think we need to stop at some point in time and consider what the burden is on the taxpayers.
Okay, thank you. Jason, a town is roads, utilities, overall structure, services, employees, and governance. What is working well in Lanesboro and what needs to be improved?
Well, as the opening part of the question states, is that all of those things as a whole make up a town and a community. I have great pride in the fact that I get to work with the city employees and the staff that we have. I think that a lot of the efforts that they have are taken for granted or not recognized at all. As far as infrastructure, we have a lot to do yet in infrastructure, but a pragmatic approach that doesn't burden the taxpayers is an important aspect of leadership in accomplishing that. Governance, leadership is also the ability to understand how things could be changed and be better and to be flexible. As a good leader, I think the council and myself as mayor have that opportunity ahead of us, and we should take advantage of our flexibility as we move forward with the decisions that are facing us in the future.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so James, we'll start with you. What programs or services would you like to see implemented or changed for the youth of Lanesboro?
For the youth of Lanesboro, oof. Well, I think that our boroughs do a pretty good job. Our school is one of the best in the one of the best in the states, and I think that that needs to be maintained. As far as other things go, I'd like to see some. You know, I think we do a pretty good job, to be perfectly honest with you. It's one of the reasons I moved here is because of how well we do with that. Our parks that we have. That'll be it.
Okay, thank you. Ken, what programs or services would you like to see implemented or changed for the youth of Lanesboro?
Well, I think the school does a very good job, and I'd like to see more participation in like the Boy Scouts. I was a Boy Scout, a very avid Boy Scout, and I think it's an incredibly good program for helping young people, you know, to get one-on-one with nature and learn about life. We were very fortunate in my day that we had some very involved scoutmasters, and it worked out. I mean, it's just, I have such vivid and great memories of it. So I would like to see more support directed toward that.
Okay, thank you. Jason, What programs or services would you like to see implemented or changed for the youth of Lanesboro?
I think it's important that there is a redirection of some of the education for our students and youth into the benefits of being in the trades. I think that's something that has been lacking over the last 15 or 20 years. And that is quite a detriment to a community as a whole, because there are people that aren't learning how to be carpenters or plumbers or electricians and things of that nature. I also feel that an education in the trades would allow more families to stay in Lanesboro, or for students or young people to understand and appreciate the benefits of a small community and what we have to offer when raising a family. And I just feel that it compounds and works together, is that we need to instill in the fact that, you know, you were brought up in a wonderful town and there's a lot of things that you are benefited by that a lot of other youth in the state and the county may not have opportunity to do, and those should be continued. But again, I feel it's important that we emphasize the trades. It's been seriously lacking, and I think most construction sites you'll see a lack of personnel because of that.
Okay, thank you. Pat, what programs or services would you like to see implemented or changed for the youth of Lanesboro?
When I hear youth, a lot of times I just see elementary school kids, and I gotta say, I'm in agreement. I think we do a nice job with that, but my kids are a little older than that. So I guess I would have to listen down if anything was being missed down there. But what I do see is I think that our current departments could offer some things that would not only benefit the kids in this town, but would also benefit some of the things with us. And those are Explorer programs, Firefighter Explorer, Police Department Explorer, EMT Explorer programs, where we get kids interested in doing things that serve our community and come in and they maybe want to become a firefighter, they maybe want to become an EMT and help the community out, because we can't have any retention unless we have enthusiasm. So I would say that right within inside of my own purview as mayor, I would ask and maybe possibly direct Explorer programs to come out so that we could fortify our EMTs and our firefighters and our thing and our police departments with local people. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, this will be our last question. There are 6 city commissions which are charged with advising the city about its obligations. They are Parks Board, Planning and Zoning Board, Library Board, Economic Development Authority, Lanesboro Public Utility, and Historic Preservation Commission. Have you served on any of these committees, and how does this influence your duties and responsibility as mayor? Who do I start with? I can't remember.
I would say you could start with Ken.
Ken. Want me to read it again?
Yeah, would you please?
Okay, sure. This is a long one, but it'll be your last one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank God.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
There are 6 city commissions which are charged with advising the city about its obligations. So they are Parks Board, Planning and Zoning Board, Library Board, Economic Development Authority, Lanesboro Public Utility, and Historic Preservation Commission. Have you served on any of these committees, and how does this influence your duties and responsibilities as mayor?
I have not served on any of them. I've gone before a few of them and come away disappointed.
Okay.
I think there's a way that we could consolidate some of this to make it simpler for the community to understand just what's going on. I've heard a lot of negative comments about planning and zoning and public utilities. That one of the members told me, he said, it's the worst thing I've ever done. There's no decisions being made, and there's no accountability. So I guess I would like to see some of those commissions consolidated a little bit, because I think 6 is too many. I think a lot of it can be accomplished with a more diverse group of people. Park Board does a great job. I don't have no problem with the library. The library is one of my favorite places. So that I don't see any need
Okay. Thanks, Ken.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, Jason, there are 6 city commissions which are charged with advising the city about its obligations. They are Park Board, Planning and Zoning Board, Library Board, Economic Development Authority, Lanesboro Public Utility, and Historic Preservation Commission. Have you served on any of these committees, and how does this influence your duties and responsibilities as mayor?
I've had the privilege to represent the citizens of Lanesboro as well as on council. I chair the Planning and Zoning Commission. I chair the Heritage Preservation Commission. I served as a council liaison to public utilities, and I was also appointed member to the EDA all over the span of the last 8 or 9 years. The city government is only as good as the members of the commissions, in my opinion. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The commissions are a wonderful vetting process for the city. It offers the widest approach and widest group of diverse members of our community because of the numbers that are involved with the commissions. And that diversity leads to a lot of interest and a lot of important decision makings as the city moves forward. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of these commissions, and I would encourage people out there, get involved with these commissions. We have openings. It's a great avenue to become part of your city government and understand what's going on.
Thank you. Pat, there are 6 city commissions which are charged with advising the city about obligations. Park Board, Planning and Zoning, Library Board, Economic Development Authority, Lanesboro Public Utility, and Historic Preservation Commission. Have you served on any of these committees, and how does this influence your duties and responsibilities as mayor?
I haven't. I would have liked to serve on the EDA. It's always in the middle of the workday. That'll change if I'm the mayor. But I also want to say that the reason why, one of the main reasons why I haven't been more involved is because of the general perception that people are not being heard nor listened to, and they come away with a bad taste in their mouth. And I think the culture needs changing. And I think once you change the culture, I think we're going to have a lot more impact. These committees are important, and we need to get new blood to see them. And so that's the key.
Thank you. James, there are 6 city commissions on which are charged with advising the city about its obligations. They are the Park Board, Planning and Zoning Board, Library Board, Economic Development Authority, Lanesboro Public Utility, Historic Preservation Commission. Have you served on any of these committees, and how does this influence your duties and responsibility as mayor?
Well, I have not personally served on any of these committees. I have had the privilege to meet a select few of the members of said boards. Specifically, I am a good friend of Phil Dibbing in town. He's kind of given me my wings and shown me my way around, so to speak. And I look forward to working with them in the future. I plan to delegate a lot of authority back to them. I think that in some ways our government here in town has become sort of centralized, and our democracy is almost faltering as a result. And so with that, I'll end my soliloquy.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we will go on to our closing. Thanks for answering all our questions. It was nice, so thank you for doing that. And now for our closing remarks. Each candidate will have 2 minutes. And remember the timer's right there. So, Ken, would you like to go first?
Sure. I've heard a lot of good ideas tonight, and I'm glad I came. I initially was not going to, but I've changed my mind, and I'm glad to have been a participant in, and I look forward to being your mayor. There's a lot of challenges ahead. One of the biggest problems that I've seen with downtown businesses is a parking issue. And that's something I want to look at. I think there needs to be more enforcement of parking rules. Right now, there is none. People come here and they park all day long, riding $1,000 bikes, and they leave their car on the street all day. And a lot of our locals can't even get downtown, especially now with all the construction going on. So that's one of my biggest concerns is the parking issue, and it has been for a long time. So.
Okay, thank you. Jason? Your closing statement?
So again, I appreciate the opportunity to have served on city council and as mayor. And I would appreciate your vote to continue the momentum that the city has worked so hard on with strong leadership and effort over the last 8 years. We have an important election on November 8th that could dramatically change or maintain the vitality of our town. I feel that I have proven experience, proven results, proven leadership. I would continue with our relationship with state and federal elected officials that are important that we work with them for the funding that's needed for a lot of the projects in our town. I am goal-oriented, professional, and results-driven. So again, I would appreciate the opportunity to continue as your mayor, and I thank you for this opportunity this evening.
You're welcome. Pat, closing arguments, 2 minutes.
Well, if you like what's going on and you think that you're well informed, then you've got a guy to vote for. But I do not feel that way. I feel as though the people of Lanesboro need to be engaged on a level that's much, much more personal. I believe that our government here needs to be more of our neighbor and our friend and our government, not just doing the bare minimums. We don't live in a big city. I could live in a big city. I could go live in Minneapolis or St. Paul and I could get treated like I live in a big city, but I don't. I choose to live in a small town, chose it on my own. I wasn't born here, but I've been here a while and I plan on staying. And I'm going to tell you, I think that we can go back to being a small town and like a neighbor. So when something's going to happen, we're going to put a big infrastructure project down on the flats or on the hill or wherever it's going to be. You're going to know about it ahead of time. You're going to have a chance to say what you want to say because it isn't just going to pop up in your backyard. And then everybody's shaking their heads and trying to figure out a back door on the way to fix the problems. If things are a good idea, they're a good idea always. They're a good idea ahead of time and after. And what I'm all about is sunshine. Sunshine is the best cleanser, and I'm going to shine a whole bunch of sunshine on the government of Lanesboro, and I want to change the culture to service and inclusivity. And I want to make it easy for the people of Lanesboro to express what's going on, but even more so, I want them to know what's going on. And that's my promise. And that's why I'm going to be a good mayor. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Pat. James?
Oh, well, in conclusion, I'd once again just like to thank everybody for taking the time out of your day to attend this. I'd also like to thank the other mayoral candidates. I wish you all the best of luck. In finality, guys, I get things done. I work hard. We've got a few small issues that we need to fix, but I think we can do it. And let's refocus on the big picture. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. We are now at the end of our time for this forum. I would like to remind you that the views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, not the League of Women Voters. Sponsorship of this forum is not an endorsement of any candidate by the League of Women Voters or the City of Lanesboro. We would like to thank all of the candidates. Really, we would like to thank all of you for being part of this democratic process by running for office and being willing to serve our community. That's what I heard, you're all willing to serve. We would also like to thank Michael Seiler for recording this educational forum. The forum in its entirety will be made available to League of Women Voter County, a Fillmore County Facebook page, and on YouTube in a few days. And again, please vote. The general election is Tuesday, November 8th. The polls are open from 7 to 8. Thank you, everybody. I messed up at the end, so
It's all good.
I see
You said
that.
it all, said it all.
Oh,
Okay, okay. We're good.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, we have been heard. We should-
Oh. That's right.